हेलो हेलो थोड़ी हेलो एवरीबॉडी आई थिंक थोड़ी और चेयर्स चाहिएंगी हमारा सेशन थोड़ा बड़ा होने वाला है थोड़ी थोड़ी हिंदी में बोलूँगा कि थॉमस को समझेगा नहीं सबको ओके okay it's a this is to get Thomas here. I think we've taken some effort to bring Thomas in this region. I think one of the largest agents. We were thankful to Thomas that we were able to get Brian Adams to this region, and I think I was reading about him, his journey. They are the largest agents and promoters in Europe. All Things Live is the company. Thomas leads the business in Europe and Middle East. I was the shows every the finest of the shows like they did last as promoters. So Thomas, as a promoter also and as agent also, they did Green Day, they did Beyonce, they did Ed Sheeran in the Middle East. I think there's Eric Clapton, Justin Timberlake, and lots of broking. If you need artists, I think if you need artists in India, I think Thomas understands India well. We will have conversation today, and I will open up to people. If you have direct questions, please ask. First, Thomas, thank you for doing this for us and being here. I think,
Thank you.
And you understand. As I said, you understand India ecosystem, yeah, what works here, and what price it should work here. Okay, and that's the Thomas we keep buying from Thomas, and we realize sometime the price what he sells in Middle East, sometime if you equate that price, the deal won't happen. But if you understand the price rightly for India, which Thomas has a knack on, I think that's the biggest help. Thomas, to start with, a little background of how you started your journey, so that guys hear this journey. It's very beautiful, and how he started into this business, and currently what you're up to. If you can share one or two lines on that, and then I'll ask my questions.
Thank you very much, Deepak. And there was a lot of things you said that are not correct, so I'll try and correct them because you give me way too much credit. And when it comes to understanding India, all I know is that the more I learn, the less I understand. And I appreciate that. So I need anyone in this room that wants to deal with me, I need you to guide me as well. But yeah, I'm an example of our industry being one of those industries where you don't have to go to college or an academy to learn. It probably won't do you any harm, but I sort of fell into it. I was an air traffic controller back in Europe. There was still a no-fly zone in Iraq, and the Americans wouldn't allow the Arabs to control the airspace. They had this idea that if they had Westerners doing it, they could control the airspace. So I got myself a good job in Bahrain, working as an air traffic controller, and it was busy time at night. So when I'd done 3 night shifts, I had 4 days off. And I wasn't British, but I soon learned that in your spare time, you go to a British club or British rugby club or British golf club or whatever. And all these clubs had a social life, but no one wanted to work and get their hands dirty putting on entertainment. So I ended up doing entertainment in those clubs, and that's how I fell into promoting shows. And when Deepak introduced me as an agent, I would say I'm not an agent, I'm a promoter. I buy shows, I take risk. That's what I do for a living. But by doing that, I'm also able to help others broker deals. So I'm, if anything, sort of in between an agent and a promoter. And if we get to talk about the mechanics of booking shows, there are some pros and cons in working directly with an exclusive agent and working with someone like myself. Sometimes one will do the trick and not the other.
Thomas, we'll start with little on this process of, I'm still going to use your experience on understanding of what it takes, any of us wants to book an artist, okay? What is that, what should we keep in mind, how should we go about? What is the process? If you can just break down that for us.
Yeah, so Western artists, in very, very general terms, they normally have a management. The management will do a contract with an agent. That agent is normally based in Los Angeles, London, or perhaps New York and represent all their live performances. So normally you'd go to the agent and lodge your inquiry, and the agent will then discuss with you if there's an opportunity. But naturally, if you don't have a relationship with the agent, they might not even take your call. Secondly, they might tell you that they're working with people already in your market. So unless you're going to pay them crazy money, they're not interested. And then there's also a matter of whether the artist is on a tour, which is when it makes the most sense financially to get a show, or if not, if you're able to pay a one-off fee. But that's sort of the traditional way. And the reason why you might work with someone like me is that I have a relationship with the agent. I might also be doing some shows with that artist in other markets, and so by pooling in with me, you have a bigger chance of getting the show. That makes sense sometimes. But as I said, the agent might already have a relationship with your competitor and won't be interested in giving you the business unless you give them a financial reason to ditch their current partner. And at some point in time, you might realize what I've learned being the biggest strength in the business, that's the ability sometimes to say no thanks. Because this is, to some extent, like gambling. You can lose a lot of money very fast if you don't switch off the emotions and make a decision with your brains. So on that note, don't think that the best promotion you'll ever do is with the band or the artist you love the most. It's probably with the artist or the band that you don't really have that emotional connection with, where you can stay clear-headed and focus on the business of the promotion.
Thomas, we also want to understand this live ecosystem, what you know, and take us to which are the large, like, I know some of it, like Live Nation, does control some part of the business. There is AEG, there is WME, there is where is this large artist? Who has these agents? Which are the agents? Where are they sitting? And if we directly want to go to them, how to go about?
So our business is a volume business, and that's why you have these giants both on the agent side and on promoter or tour producer side. I mean, the business is about how many shows can an artist accumulate. How can you reduce the cost? So if there is a promoter that can offer 50 shows globally, it's more likely that promoter gets the global tour than one that can only offer 10 or 20 shows, or will need to go to 20 independent promoters to put that tour together. That's why there's a Live Nation, that's why there's AEG, and there's a flurry of perhaps 5 or 6, perhaps even 10 companies globally that are now vying for that space. And sort of the company I'm part of, All Things Live, is one of those where perhaps we could put 20 shows together as part of a tour, but instead of bidding for 20 shows and become a direct competitor to Live Nation, we go to Live Nation or to AEG and say, when you do your 50-show tour, let us take 20 of those shows. So we're not disrupting yet. At some point in time, we will disrupt that market, and then hopefully they'll buy us at a premium, or we will go, partner with someone else to take on those companies. But it's a volume game, and so artists will sign up with an agent, as I said, and many times that agent, when they do a world tour, will go to Live Nation or AEG first and say, before we go and talk to our local promoters, how many shows can you take? And sometimes that's where the deal is done. And then there's some agents that treasure having alternatives. So instead of in your market just selling the show to Book My Show or perhaps even Zomato, they'll come to me and say, do you think Deepak wants to do something with us in India? Because we'd like not to sign off all our shows with one promoter because it gives us less opportunity, and at some point in time, they'll stop paying premium because they know there's no alternative. And I guess that's where your market were perhaps 5 years ago, where if you went to an LA-based agent, they only knew of one buyer in India. Now at least there's 3 or 4.
Now tell me what it takes as somebody is again a new promoter and has a lot of money, and in India that's going on currently. They have enough cash and they want to get into this business now. And what is the right way they should go about? There are a lot of I can see there are 2-3 players here of wedding industry, and they have enough money to buy all of us out, and they don't know what to do with that money. Now, sometimes how to go about this on a rightly, how they can present to an agent or a promoter, how they can go about.
Yeah, the dumbest thing you can do is to present yourself as someone with a lot of money to spend. No one respects a bad deal, and they'll just make that deal even worse for you. No, I mean, generally in established touring market, an offer is based on showing the potential revenue for that show. So you build a P&L where you show how many tickets at what price you think you can sell, and then a percentage of your total earning from a show is what you'd offer the artist. Or perhaps you'll say to the artist, you'll get a guarantee, I'll pay you $500,000 regardless of what happens, and versus 90%, which is a standard type of deal. And that means that when all revenues have been added up and all expenses deducted, you will get at least your guarantee, the $500,000. But if 90% is more than $500,000, that's what you get. When you build a deal like that, it's a fair offer, and an agent should at least appreciate that that's a fair offer, even if they're not willing to do the deal. So I think the best way to go about it is to say, I'm interested in that artist. I think I can sell this many tickets at this price, and so I'd like to make this offer. If an artist agent says, I get it, but I think you misunderstand my artist, I think you can sell more tickets than that and at a higher price, whatever, then obviously you can negotiate and you can start adding to the offer and potentially put yourself in a position where you say, well, I'm not going to make money based on ticket sales, but I might have a sponsor and there might be other reasons for me doing it. That would be the best approach with an agent or with your broker, rather than just say, I have a lot of money in my pocket.
Got it. Tell us one more thing. Like we struggle. Like I'll give you an example. Brian Adams, we did 7 cities in India and 2 cities in Middle East. In these 7 cities, when we send our first paperwork to the artist and to you, you realize that the pricing we had put, okay, the pricing we had put was, we thought we'll be able to pass through the artist when we were putting the price, that we were selling, let's say, an X price, X number of tickets, but actually we knew that we can sell better, but we put lesser number there. I think, and we fall flat on it, where artists came back and said, now you can't increase the price, now you can't increase the capacity. And when artists said, now whatever you sell, I'll take 50% of it. And finally, he agreed on that number. So I have learned it the hard way, but I'm saying for others, how to go about it rightly, what is the right paperwork, what is the right research, and what is the right pricing mechanism so that they give the right offer.
Yeah, I think again, if the approach is that you build an offer based on the actual revenues, the philosophy should be, don't try to cover up your numbers. The more transparent and truthful you are, the more likely it is that you're going to get the deal that you want. And if you don't get the deal, you probably dodged the bullet. So that's what I would say. First of all, if you think you can sell 15,000 tickets, don't do a deal that says 10,000 capacity, and then a week before the event say, oh, we can sell another 5,000 tickets, because the artist will say, well, that's fine, but that money belongs to me. The other thing is that I think from working with you, Deepak, I realized that there's a general perception that if you book more than one show, the price should come down. If you book 3 shows instead of 1, price should come significantly down. And 5 shows, are you kidding me? You're going to get a deal. But for artists, it might not be that scenario, because they will always look at, in each city they play, they should get the best offer they could ever have from that city, whether they would go out and do individual deals or buy a tour. Also, they have cost associated with coming, and when they take your offer, they defer someone else's offer. So sometimes that doesn't work.
No, I got it. Okay, I'm going to take 1 or 2 questions. We don't have much time. Anybody has immediate a question in between, or I'll continue. Yeah, Viraf, you want to put some notes on it? Yeah. Can we get a mic, audience mic, if possible? We've got there's a table. We've got a very large promoter from Blue Blood. Osman would like to ask. Osman, you want to put a question ahead and so share your experience of something you've gone through? Can we get one to mic to Osman and one to mic to Viraf also. Osman, you continue till Viraf gets
Thank
the mic.
you, Deepak. Thomas, good seeing you on the stage, on the platform. Normally, you're the man behind the stage. I have a question. So, we all live in this realm of doing international shows. And you rightfully said that sometimes we think when we offer multiple shows, the artists are we thinking that we're going to get a better deal, which is not actually the fact. But what's happening globally, not just in the Middle East, is that I feel that we're all competing amongst ourselves. And we all live in this industry. For example, the Middle East. We see each other on different platforms. But what's going on in the industry with the likes of the Live Nations and all the other bigger players that are there, they're overpaying the artists. Sometimes it doesn't make financial sense. How do we as independents compete in that sort of world where they're taking stupid offers, where we know the artist is worth $500,000 in the region, but they're getting offers like $1 million. Some of these companies are going and putting these fictitious offers in, and then in the artist's mind, they feel that that's their worth, but it's not. So how do we bypass that? How do we work on that scenario where we come together, paying fair value to artists and not overpaying?
Yeah, I don't think there's much you can do, and I think even the artist and the agent would know that a deal is not going to work, but sometimes money wins over sense. I mean, in the Middle East, we have scenarios where an artist will go to a market, play for less people than they could do by playing in another city, but it's more important to collect a higher fee. Perhaps the upside for you and me, Osman, is that next time the artists come, they won't play in Abu Dhabi for a silly fee for half the audience we can do in Dubai, and then we get a more affordable show in Dubai. But honestly, this is the business. This is why there's global tour promoters. And you're right, some of them will take losses on shows to make sure no one else gets those shows. But my experience is just that for every 10 shows that an agent will do with Live Nation in the Middle East, or say, book my show here, that agent will also realize that I need to work with one of their competitors, because otherwise these guys will stop paying premium. And that's the crumbs from the rich people's table. You know, that's what Osman and I will pick up in the Middle East. That's what you and some of you guys in the room will have to pick up here. You're not going to be able to take on the giants, because that means paying stupid money. At the same time, they might have a financial reason for wanting to pay these silly fees, and who knows how that works. I think in some cases, Live Nation might do a management deal with an artist and pay them a lot of money up front, and it's better to get them out, even at crazy fees, to do some business than not have any business. But no, unfortunately, I don't think there's anything to do with it. But when we do shows, we need to do them excellent. We need to do the artist the best promotion, so we show their team that there's a reason to work with the independents. Because one of the things I see in the market is that these big promoters, they don't do bespoke promotions. They treat a comedy show like a rock show, an urban show, similar to a family entertainment show. And I think I would pride myself in always understanding the artist and giving that artist the best promotion. And after that collaboration, the artist will say, you know what, we want to work with them again, and perhaps influence the agent and the manager to say, you know, unless we get a whole lot more money from Live Nation, let's stick to these guys because they did a good show. But yeah, it's an uphill battle when you can't pay premium.
Viraf, you want to?
I wanted to ask almost a similar question as Osman, but I'll put another one to you. As you must have heard from Nazif and everyone that our artists, when they go to US and other places, they are now started doing their own promoted shows, which means they keep the box office. Understanding that India has almost more than 1.2 billion population and a serious fan following of these global artists in India, why can't international artists do the same thing for India?
Yeah, but I think the international artists obviously would like to come here, but you guys have been, you've accustomed them to getting flat and premium fees. So now when I take Deepak's P&Ls with ticket sales details back to Brian Adams' agent and say, this is the justification for the fee. Well, in his case, he listened to that because he wanted to try and understand the business here. But many artists would say, hang on a second, I don't care about what tickets you can sell because the guys from Book My Show has offered a nice round and big fee. So is that what you mean? Why the artists won't just live with round
I'm just
flat
saying
fees?
that like Indian artists are going abroad and doing their own promotion, and, promoting their own shows and keeping the entire box office to themselves and probably giving a very little percentage to the local producer or promoter there. Maybe they're doing on their own. So similarly, I'm just checking when would that time come when international artists will really look at Indian market as a serious market and
when
actually say that I think I've got millions of fans there. I want to do my own show and I'll select the best agency to produce it for me. Instead of actually getting into these royalty wars or
which
fee
has
wars.
happened in a case of Coldplay, in a case of Ed Sheeran. Both were P&L based.
No, but
events.
initially there are huge sums being given, and then the additional shows is where the profit sharing happens.
But when Diljit goes to North America, he works with a promoter and on the terms of a guarantee versus a split. So I think that's already happening. My thinking would be that 10, 15 years from now, we need to see many more Indian artists that are performing abroad, not just for Indian expats, because I think that's where the limitation is right now. Looking at the size of this country and the cultural history that you have, I'm surprised that we haven't got 5 or 6 Indian artists in the top 20 in international charts.
Right, but
So true.
like
Virav, I'm going to cut the session. Sorry, I have another pressure of running the show faster. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.